Welcome back to the Centriq podcast. I'm your host, Lydia DeMonte. Today, we're going to talk with some Centriq team members about building skills and confidence throughout the Centriq journey to set students up for a lifetime of success. First, we're going to talk to Becky about how she helps Centriq students succeed in and beyond the classroom.
Hi, I'm Becky Sears. I'm a student success advisor at Centriq.
All right. Well, thank you, Becky, for coming in. I know that we have a lot of students come through who they haven't been a student in a long time. So what do you do to help these students? Can you kind of walk through how you help people be a student again?
Yeah, definitely. We actually do encourage students to treat our training like a job. So student life as an adult is different than what it was like when they were in high school or if they attended college. They're often juggling, a family, or they have a part-time or full-time job while going through training. The nice thing is that we understand that. We've built the curriculum around that. And a lot of times our instructors were in their shoes. So they attended Centriq training, they got a job in IT, and then they came back with that passion to teach. And so, all of that has helped build a curriculum and a program where we understand our students and that we are there to help every step of the way. So when things get overwhelming, I step in and work on, how to help that situation. We talk about time management. We talk about scheduling and creating a routine. In our first week, we go over note taking again. Sometimes it's been a long time since they've been in a classroom and you forget how to take notes or what the tools that are available now with AI and how that can help in that note taking process. So, we have really built the curriculum around those career changers.
Can you talk a little bit more specifically about what some of the tips are? Can you share some tips with us?
We encourage students to have a positive, open mind. Mindset is everything. A lot of times we have students that tell us, I wasn't a good student in high school. This isn't high school. This isn't continuing on that path. This isn't college. Students come to us with an interest in IT, which helps with the learning. So with that, we say, ask questions, engage in the classroom, talk to other students, get to know who's in your classroom, and all of that will build on your learning experience. We have mentoring programs set up so that if students are struggling with the material, then we are available to help them in a one-on-one setting. Tips that I might have to share, again, come in with that positive mind, take notes, be engaged, and have patience with yourself. You are learning something new. We don't expect perfection. We're about giving you the skills that you need to get a job in IT.
So I know that a lot of the students who've been here, it is challenging for them. So what are some of the ways, can you share, without sharing any names, can you share a story of a student who was struggling, who did have a hard time, and how you helped them through that?
We have the ability to have one-on-one sessions with our students. So it depends on what it is that they're struggling. They reach out to me. They let me know what their concerns are. And then I can assess whether that is, whether they need to speak with an instructor and work with an instructor one-on-one, or if that's something that I can help with. I have definitely had to help with that mindset of I don't know if I know enough to get a job in IT. So kind of that imposter mindset. We work a lot with that and building the confidence that they need to go out there and get that job. We've had students that have felt overwhelmed at times with the curriculum, and I'll help break down a schedule for them. How are they spending their time outside of class time? What can they be doing inside of class time? Our curriculum is built where most students do not have to take anything home. Unless they're studying for a certification, they get the classwork done in class, which helps free up the time to be with their family, to have a part-time job, and continue on with their life.
That's great. I love that. I don't think that's something I knew, that all of the work is done in class. But I know that with certifications, there is a bit of study required. But it's different, right? It's different from high school exams. It's different from college exams. So how do you prepare people to get those certifications, like the Sec Plus or some of the others?
Yeah. So I hold a workshop, a study skills workshop, the week of their certifications, or when those unlock for them. They'll be studying during class time. Instructors will be helping them through that week. But then also I come in to talk about, having a schedule, scheduling your time to study, because we all can procrastinate. And so having that on a schedule helps holding them accountable for the studying that they need to do in order to pass that certification. We talk about the difference between passive learning and active learning, being engaged in the material. Sometimes students are like, yeah, I just looked over that material. Well, we know that you have to take notes, that you have to create mind maps or charts or flashcards in order to help with the retention of that material. And we cover all of that.
What is the difference between passive and active learning?
Yeah, passive learning would be like reviewing your notes. When students tell me that they've reviewed their notes, it means that they've looked over it. Maybe they read it, but they didn't engage with material. They didn't actively try to recall anything that they had been learning. We have study rooms set aside that students can come and study with other students so that they can form groups. And that is very active because you're asking questions and you're reteaching the material. And so those are all tips and techniques that we encourage our students to use when they're studying for an exam.
So, Becky, go ahead and share one of the stories of a student who maybe was struggling at the beginning and now has become successful.
Yeah, we have a student who, at times struggled with the curriculum, questioned whether this was the right fit for him. We met one-on-one. We had discussions about how he could continue learning even after he was completed with the program. He's met with instructors, he's worked with them one-on-one, and he is now a year and a half in to a job in IT. He's loving it. He still comes in and checks in with us. He's a true success. It's that desire to continue learning that we see in students that make them successful. It's different than high school. It's different than college. I'm going to go back to this because I was a high school teacher. I taught history. This is not those general education requirements. Students come because they want to learn IT, and that makes a difference. So adult learners come in with advantages. Sometimes we've talked about the disadvantage of coming and being an adult learner, but there's a lot of advantages to be an adult learner. You come in with life experience. You come in with the ability to problem solve. You're typically engaged because this is material that you want to learn for a career in IT. So you come in with purpose, and that makes everything more manageable. Again, that goes back to your positive mindset.
Yeah, in our last episode, I talked with both Brady and Andrew about how students come back even after they've graduated to get that support from Centriq. Do you see that often with what you offer, where students may come back? I know some of them don't take the certifications until later. Are you seeing a lot of that? Students coming later after graduation seeking help?
Yeah, we have students that come in after they've graduated. They continue to study in our study rooms. I go and check in on them. I try to encourage them to have a plan, to set those schedules so that they can hold themselves accountable. And I help too with that. I will continue to encourage or pressure a little bit to get those certifications.
That's great. That's so awesome that you continue to support them. And, it's not just that they're learning today at Centriq. They're going to continue to learn forever. And I know that I still use some of my study techniques from when I was in school in my work today. There's always more to learn. And I know that that's one of the exciting things about IT is it's always growing and you're always learning. And it's just, I love what you do, Becky. I love that you can continue to help people on their career journey.
Yeah, I love what I do too. And any way that I can help a student be more comfortable to, have more confidence in themselves and go out there and be successful definitely brings me great pleasure. So thank you.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Becky. It was great talking with you.
Great talking with you too.
Now we're going to talk to Russ about what happens when you fill out that form on the Centriq website and what kind of skills make a successful IT professional. They may not be as out of reach as you think.
I'm Russ Mondry, and I am the education consultant here at Centriq Training.
All right. So, Russ, my buddy Russ, anyone in Kansas City has probably heard about you on the radio. I know SlimFest talks about you all the time, and so does Davo on the mix. So, you're a minor celebrity in Kansas City, but obviously you're a real person and you're here. How long have you been with Centriq?
I've been here for 17 years. So actually this month, December of 2008 is when I started.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of students come through.
Thousands of students. It's crazy.
How many different types of people? Like, give us the range of everyone who you've talked to who's come through.
I've seen people of all ages, all backgrounds, every situation. It's been fun. I really enjoy just kind of hearing from people and talking to them and hearing kind of their backgrounds. But God, I've seen people right out of high school. I've seen people making career changes that are out in the heat, out in the cold, or waiting tables. During COVID, there were tons of people who were trying to get out of the food industry and things along those lines. And then, of course, we see a lot of veterans and so just people who are interesting to talk to that are looking to make a change.
Yeah, all kinds of people, and they all fit in here, right?
They do. Yeah, they're all successful and they all bring valuable skills.
Okay, and you help these people through the process, right? We were just talking to Becky about how she helps people who come to Centriq learn to be students again, but it's also scary for some people to just go through the application process. So could you walk us through like the whole enrollment process, like from the time you have a phone call with them, or even from the time they fill out the form on our website until they enroll? What happens? What are the steps there?
Yeah, they fill out a form and really they should expect a call from me, or they can schedule an appointment right then and there. But within a few hours, I try to call them and talk to them and learn about them. So hopefully we connect and we talk about them, and their background and what they've done. And I really try to understand who they are and what they're doing and take my time. And, I know people are scared to do that sometimes, but it's not salesy. It's very conversational. And we just kind of go over what they've done and what they want to do and kind of what their frustration might be. And then kind of what their education background has been, what their job history has been, things along those lines. And then I try to educate them on what cybersecurity is and make sure we're all on the same page. And then if it all sounds like something that they're interested in, then we try to schedule a follow-up call where, I send them an assessment and, want to make sure that this aligns with them and they have that kind of technical ability. People coming here do not need to be high-tech people, but they do need to be general computer users. So we just try to figure that out. And it also has actually a pretty fun personality assessment that people have taken them before, but they never get to hear the results a lot of times. So we have a follow-up call and talk about their personality and how that aligns with the job itself and go to school and making a change. So we do things along those lines. Really that's, the first step is learning about them. The second, there's two calls there, is reviewing their results and answering their follow-up questions. And then after that, then it's really just helping them with financing or arrangements to be able to get started. So there's multiple hats here, but just a lot of a lot of conversation along the way to help them through the process.
Yeah, and you mentioned that assessment, but as you said, it's not anything scary. It's not a test. It's just making sure that they can use a computer. Nothing super technical, just like what is the assessment exactly? Could you tell me that?
That's good. That's a good question. Yeah, people do sometimes worry that it's a test and they're not going to pass it. And, as long as they're general computer users, so copy, paste, minimize, maximize, bookmark, things like that. Use the start menu, those things. So as long as they're general computer users, we can teach them. We have people coming, have been in construction for years and working at warehouses. They necessarily haven't been in the office environment, and they do great. It's fine as long as they're general computer users. And we have other people coming here that are huge gamers, really techie, and computer is just second nature to them, and that's fine. And they all do great. But somebody struggles with doing copying and pasting and just navigating, they may struggle here.
Right, right. And those are also things, that you could Google to figure out how to do it. But I would guess if you know how to Google, you probably know how to use a computer.
Exactly. If somebody's, yeah, and most people I talk to are general computer users, so it's typically fine.
So you're having this phone call with them, right? It's not like an interview. It's just a conversation. But what are some of the things that happen in this conversation? Like what are you expecting to get from them, and what can they expect to hear from you?
Yeah, we just want to learn about each other. I want to understand their background and understand where they've been working. What they like about their job, maybe what they don't like about their job. And then we'll talk about IT, talk about cybersecurity, what that job's like, what they should expect. And there's a lot of skills that people have from all different jobs that really align with cybersecurity, and they don't know that. They don't expect that, but it really does. So we discuss those things. I try to, talk about me too. I mean, I've been doing lots of different things and talked to a lot of different people. So, I like lending, my past and talking about those things. I learn a lot from our students, and I like to pass that along to my family too. So I just enjoy the conversation and just try to take my time and just really learn from everybody.
Can you share some of those like transferable skills that somebody, say in construction, how do they fit into IT? What are some of the skills that they already have that they could use here?
Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, construction tends to make some of our best students because they're logical thinkers, they're problem solvers, they're troubleshooters. So that's what cybersecurity is. A lot of times there's a problem, and you're not necessarily trying to figure out what it is. You're trying to figure out what it isn't to figure out what it is. So they're doing a lot of that logical thinking. So a lot of that's in construction, maintenance, mechanics. They're very wired that way. It's just this happens to be less physical or less out in the elements. A lot of waiters and waitresses, they have great customer service skills. They're good at communicating. They have soft skills. Their multitasking skills, those go a long way. A lot of veterans, they're calm under pressure. That's great. And in IT, things could go wrong all at once. You kind of have to deal with that and do those things. So there's just so many skills from so many backgrounds that people bring to the table that help them in this career. It really does. And employers, we help with the technical side. We help with the training. We give them the skills, give them the certifications, make sure they're ready. But these transferable skills are what's going to help them get that job and help them get promoted once they're in the field.
Speaking of veterans, we have a lot of veterans who come through Centriq, right? What are the benefits of coming to Centriq for a veteran?
I think, they've done some amazing things in the military and have tons of responsibility, and they've got these skills, they're disciplined, they're on time, in fact, they're early. I talk to them all. I talk to a veteran and they schedule a time. I make it a point to call them 2 minutes early because I know if I call them on time, I'm late. So those things, they're, again, calm under pressure. They're good at multitasking, so there's so many skills they have that align with this, and employers love it. There's many that have past clearances, and with the past clearance and then the Security Plus, this opens so many doors for them. We've seen so much success with our veterans getting out and getting jobs, and we love them as students. They're fantastic.
And obviously Centriq's not college. It's not the traditional education route, but veterans can use their GI Bill benefits, right, for coming to Centriq?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they can use their GI Bill. We have vocational rehabilitation as well. The GI Bill is nice for them because they can use it, typically could cover the whole program. It does pay them a housing allowance while they're at school, so they'll get that. As a book stipend as well, but we provide the books, so they're able to use those for themselves. So, it's an amazing opportunity for veterans to get everything fully covered and get their expenses paid while they're in school.
Yeah, actually, I talked to a veteran who came through Centriq who came here from Virginia so he could do the program in person, use those benefits, had his housing stipend, and then was able to go back home to Virginia and start his career there. So I definitely think that's an advantage for military veterans to be able to do that and have those resources. Speaking of that, how do you support potential students who maybe need a little extra help getting their financing and getting everything sorted before they start the program?
So the first few conversations are talking about the program itself. But yeah, the financing sometimes is tricky, and you know, not everybody fits into one bucket, and sometimes financing is hard. So I try to work with them on other options. You know, there are some resources locally that are out there, and I try to help them with that, and then provide whatever information, whatever those resources need to them. We have payment plans we've done in the past. I feel like if somebody's really motivated and we feel like they're going to work hard and take this seriously and put the effort in, and obviously be a good alumni, we'll work with them making payments directly to the school from time to time. So if somebody has the motivation to come here, and I have the motivation to help them come here, so I think that's really the most important part for me. If somebody's really driven, I'll do whatever I can to help them get across the finish line.
So we've talked about people who are changing their careers. We've talked about veterans coming through the program. What about people who are just starting out? Like maybe they're right out of high school. Maybe it's been a few years, but they haven't started any kind of career yet. How do they go through the program? Are they a good fit? What are some of the advantages they have?
Yeah, they are. When I first started, we saw very few. There just wasn't on their radar. And probably about 8-10 years ago, we started to see a lot more who tried college for a year or so and realized it wasn't for them. Or many that were right out of high school and realized, I just want to be in cybersecurity. I just want to learn these skills, and I want to go to work. When I was in high school, the last thing I was thinking about was my job. At that point, I was thinking about going to college and partying and everything else. Everybody, for high schoolers who are driven, who want to go to work, this is a perfect option. But it just depends on the high schooler, I think. So if they're driven, if they're motivated, if they want to learn a set skill, if they're techie, which a lot of these guys have been on a computer since the day they were born, a lot of them are gamers. They do a fantastic job, and we have countless stories of high schoolers that have gotten out and gotten jobs, and their friends who went to college, they're working 3.5 years. These guys are working 3.5 years sooner, making a living before before their friends graduate. So I don't know. I think it's an amazing opportunity for the right student. I'll say about 20% of our students right now are in that 18 to 24 range.
Wow. That's, a bigger chunk than I would have expected, especially knowing the history of Centriq being more for people changing their career. But these days, it's very different from when I went to college. They used to say that you had to have a college degree to get a job. But that's just not reasonable anymore. People need to get into a job faster. You can't afford to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans and spend all that time in school. It works for some people, but not everyone is going to be able to do that. We've all got our own needs, but Centriq, I think it's become more valuable for young people to be able to get into that career right away. And I would think that's why the numbers are going up. It's an option for people who don't have time for college and who recognize that degree doesn't necessarily mean anything anymore. Have you seen, when people are trying to get jobs after they're out of the Centriq program, do you think there's much of an advantage having a degree versus going to Centriq?
Yeah, I've talked to many people who have degrees in computer science that are struggling, and to find something where coming through Centriq, we have connections, we have IT departments that are filled with our people, we have hiring managers that are graduates of ours at this point, and those certifications carry weight. So I think that's really valuable in Kansas City. Our name really goes a long way with these hiring managers and companies. And if you ask an IT department if they had heard of us, and I get a lot of calls. I mean, we're a lot of our students are referrals. I get calls from people who said, "Yeah, my IT department manager told me to have to call you." So I just think we're very well known. Where a traditional college, they teach so many things that they don't necessarily specialize it. They have a tough time staying current, and everything we're teaching is what's going on in the industry. We cut out things that are unrelated. It's all hands-on. You're learning it by doing it. So you really walk out and you feel like you've done the job for 6 months. And And that's the difference. And I think at this point, Kansas City knows that, and we're successful getting our people working.
Yeah, it's not just you that's a celebrity in Kansas City. It's not just Russ Mondry's name. It's also Centriq.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to be the person to talk about a place that I believe in this much. I'm very confident in what we do. And it's our staff. We have great support staff and Becky and career services and Lacey and Brady. And, just everybody who's here is just committed to our mission of helping people get in the industry. And so to be able to be the person who talks about it is an honor for me, because it's easy to talk about, because it's a great option for good people, so yeah, I like it.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me, Russ. This has been a good conversation, and hopefully it helps some of those people who are maybe afraid to fill out the form, maybe afraid to answer the phone. You're a guy, and you're going to help them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to talk to them. So I appreciate it. I enjoy talking to you.
Next, we're going to talk to Erin about her journey from Centriq student to IT professional and now Centriq instructor, and how that journey informs her teaching practice.
Yeah, hi, my name is Erin Fitzpatrick, and I'm an instructor here at Centriq Training.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Erin. You're an instructor at Centriq. How long have you been here?
Yeah. So I have been with Centriq as an instructor for about a year and a half now. So it was May of 2024 when I joined the team.
And you're an instructor now, but you were once upon a time a Centriq student. Is that right?
I was indeed. Yeah. So like a few of the other instructors, I myself am a Centriq grad and came through the program and absolutely loved it. Went out into the field and was just beyond thrilled to come back and kind of make a difference in other students' life in the same way that the instructors that I had made in mine.
You were in the field for a while, working in IT. How did your experience in IT relate to being a teacher?
Yeah, so I would say it relates in quite a few ways. Some direct, some indirect. So it relates in that I was able to go out and put into practice the things that I was learning about, the technical skills that I learned about when I was a student myself, that then I can bring back and share with my students, give them real world examples of the topics and things that we're discussing in the classroom. So that definitely gives myself and the other instructors a leg up because we have experienced a lot of issues firsthand in the field. Directly, though, in my prior role, I actually was a software trainer. So I was actually doing a little bit of teaching in that way. I was traveling to our offices that carried our software and setting them up and then training the office staff on how to use that software. So I got that kind of teaching training aspect of it as well.
So since you went through Centriq, you spent time in the field, now you come back to instruct. Has the curriculum at Centriq changed much in that time? Have you found that it's updated or that it's different? Are there new approaches?
Yeah. So it has. And that is kind of one of the cool things about our school and our program. We have the ability to adapt as the technology changes. And as I'm sure everybody knows, that happens frequently and sometimes without notice. So yeah, we've definitely, I've noticed some changes from being a student to being, a staff member for sure. Even just in that small window of time from when I graduated to when I came back.
I do feel, I've talked to Andrew, the instructor, last time. I've talked with Russ and Becky kind of on the difference between college and Centriq. And one thing that seems to ring true over and over is that the curriculum gets updated. It's not something that takes years and has to pass like a board approval or anything like that. When the technology is updated, the curriculum at Centriq is updated. So I find it interesting, just to ask, you were in the program a while ago. How were you able to pivot? And it sounds like you did that by working in the field and really understanding what that's like. But I want to step back a little bit. What were you doing before you did the training at Centriq?
Yeah. So directly before starting my training at Centriq, I was working in the front office of a dental office. So nothing really, considered IT related, but in all of my jobs, prior to coming to Centriq, I'd always kind of worked on computers, and felt like I had a little bit of a knack for those. But yeah, I was in the front office of a dental office, so I was kind of doing those admin tasks. So claiming or filing claims, processing payments, scheduling appointments, kind of just all of those general office tasks. And prior to that, I kind of bounced around and did, I mean, really everything from retail to real estate. I've got three kids, and so at that time, my focus was more on being available for class parties and PTA meetings. And so it's kind of full-time mom, part-time employee.
So being a mom, how did that work out going to school at Centric? I know, it's quite a lot of work in a short period of time. How did you manage that?
It is, but that's kind of the beauty of it. The timing of the program, the fact that it's only 16 weeks long, as opposed to something that's longer, more drawn out, that's going to take you 2 to 4 years to get through. You kind of have that mentality going in it. Okay, I do need to, really buckle down and focus for these 16 weeks. But when I look at the big picture, the grand scheme of things, that's really just kind of a blip on the radar. I mean, that's like a quarter of the school year, of the traditional school year. So, I was in and out of the program before my kids had even moved up a grade level at that point. So yeah, that was kind of the mentality of going into it, is just, I know that this is temporary and this is going to really set me up for success beyond these 16 weeks, and put me into something that will give me the flexibility, and also allow for all of those little things that come up in life as your children get older as well.
So flexibility, that's a huge benefit, but why IT in general? What drew you to this field?
Yeah. So it's funny. This is a question we ask our students all the time, and it's one of my things that I really enjoy hearing their answers on, because they come from such a broad spectrum. So I was never a gamer, or anything like that. Uh, like I mentioned, I had always kind of worked on a computer for every job that I had, whether that be like a POS system, or at the dental office, or when I was doing, contracting and compliance in real estate, and I was doing a little bit of like internal marketing as well. And so, kind of always working on computers, with computers. And so I felt like I had developed a pretty good knack for troubleshooting issues as they arose. Specifically at the dental office that I was at, it was a very small office, so we didn't have dedicated IT support. So if something arose, I was on the front line to fix it, and I felt like that was something that kind of came naturally to me. Plus, I am just kind of a natural like puzzle lover. Anyways, I love a good riddle. I love a good mystery. And so knowing that, and the time that I spent troubleshooting those issues, I got kind of interested in the systems behind the software that I was running, and the computer that I was working with, and those sorts of things. And I also have always known in the back of my head that IT and cybersecurity is really the direction that our world is moving in. All of our systems are dependent on IT infrastructure at this point, and it's only going to continue to be that way. And so, in order to kind of get myself uh, in that arena, was something that interested me as well. And of course, the ads on the radio, right? Really.
Of course, of course. When I was talking to Russ earlier, I was like, well, probably most people in Kansas City know who you are because that radio ads say, call Russ.
100%. 100%. Yes, 100%. Yeah, I was a 96.5 The Buzz listener back before they were sports, right? When it was still The Buzz. And yeah, hearing the ads on the radio about calling Russ. And it just so happened that about the time that I started thinking about making the transition, I found out that the dentists that I was working with were retiring. And it put me at a crossroads. And it was like, okay, well, yes, I could go work at another dental practice, but is that really what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is that where I want my career to be? And it just wasn't. And so I'd been hearing the ads on the radio and just knowing the interest that I had. Like the others, I called Russ. I answered that siren song, and yeah, it was. I've said it many, many times. Hands down, the best decision I've ever, one of the best decisions I've ever made.
That's great. That's great. So you got into IT. Obviously, it's a very fast growing field. But something brought you back to teaching. Can you talk a little bit about why you enjoy teaching? What are some of the highlights of your experience as a teacher, and how does that keep you connected to the IT world?
Yeah. So I will say, as a student, I found the instructors that I had here at Centriq extremely inspiring. They all were so passionate about what they were talking about and so knowledgeable. And so even as a student, that kind of started getting my wheels turning of like, this would be a really cool environment to have a career in, just to have the opportunity to have a similar impact in others' lives. And just the culture of always growing, always learning, always finding out more. Like we talked about, the curriculum, the topics that we teach are always changing to kind of keep up with the way that technology is going. And so knowing that and kind of my natural curiosity, teaching really resonated with me. So it's been really cool to come back and see it from that other side of things and teach alongside some of the same instructors that I had when I was a student. There's no better feeling than seeing something click with a student and you immediately see their body language change. Like there's that immediate boost in confidence. And so, yeah, for me, that's what does it. That's why I enjoy it. And that's why I can see myself doing this for years and years and years.
Yeah, well, talking about it clicking with the students, that kind of makes me think of problem solving. Like you're still bringing the puzzle together. It's just helping someone else do it. So I can see how that would be a good fit if you're someone who loves solving, loves puzzles. Maybe we can see that in people who were teachers first and then come through Centriq. I know I've talked to some teachers before who come through the program. It all kind of relates. There's a lot of skills out there that can apply to IT. Can you share any stories? What's a good story of you having a great experience with a student, just a highlight of being a teacher here?
Yeah. So one of the cool things about the courses that I teach, so I primarily teach kind of the first 3 courses in the track. But then I also teach one of the later courses, which is our IT Network Project course. An IT Network Project is a course it's like a capstone, where students are taking everything that they've learned up until that point and creating a proposal project where they're putting all of the pieces together. So I've had a few students in particular, but one that I'm thinking of who was extremely green whenever they first came in, and I had them in the beginning. And, I was starting to see the wheels starting to turn in some of those early classes, but then I had the opportunity to have them again for that capstone project and just seeing the growth from those early weeks whenever, they could barely even, figure out where to find the display settings on their computer all the way to that capstone project where they're picking out end user workstations and determining what specs are needed for specific pieces of software. And they're going in and taking just based on the information that we've given them, how many devices they're needed on their network and how many, users, all of that things, and creating their network segmentation and what their domain structure is going to look like. And just, again, the amount of growth and the confidence from that very first week up until, week 10 was exponential. And that is so cool. That's a highlight always.
I love that. I love hearing about that growth. And, we talked about that with you. We've talked about that with Russ earlier. He's getting them before they're in the program. And we talked about that with Becky, how she helps them along the way. So I love it. I love hearing about the growth of our students. I love hearing about the growth of our staff. So thank you very much, Erin, for talking with me today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was so much fun. And like I said, I hope I get to do it for many, many more years.
Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the Centriq podcast.